Hi, I'm Kimberly Vance. Who says crafting is a dying art? I'm finding crafters all over the Middle Tennessee area who make unique items that'll be passed down for generations to come. Welcome to HandMade Tennessee. Now, we've got a special guest with us today, and you might remember she was with us before when we did basket weaving. Thank you so much for coming back again.
Thank you for
Mitzi
inviting
Pierce.
me.
You're welcome. Now, not only are you what I would consider a top-notch basket weaver, but you also carve wooden spoons.
Yes, ma'am.
By hand.
Yes, by hand.
Oh, that's something else. Well, I'll tell you what, I was really tickled when I found out, but a lot of us crafters, or folks who love the craft, we find that when we get to doing one craft and we feel pretty comfortable in that, something else catches our eye.
Yes.
And then before we know it, we've got a whole house full of tools and items, and oh, I can do that, I'll whip that up.
And I've always got a project going.
I do too,
Whether
always.
it's quilting or sewing something, carving spoons, making baskets, if I'm bored with that particular activity, I'll move on to something else, something that I want to do for that day.
Well, I'll tell you what, the wooden spoons, this is amazing, and these are beautiful.
Thank you.
How in the world did you learn how to do wood carving for spoons?
Once again, I saw an article in Southern Standard for a class in Woodbury, and they have Crafts Appalachian Center up there.
Yes.
I don't remember the correct name for it, but I went up there and took a 3-day course on the weekend and absolutely loved it. And as it turned out, there was about 10 or 12 of us women that just signed up randomly. It was the first female class they had had, and the gentleman said that it was the most fun class. And the men that taught the class were all from non-electric communities. Everything they did by hand. They farmed, they played music, they made their own instruments. I have wonderful, wonderful children, but the tales that this guy told of that these gentlemen told of their children just wowed me. Just unbelievable talent. And so we listened to Alison Krauss music. We had stew. We used an outhouse, and we were in a little log cabin, and it was 3 of the most wonderful days.
Now, you had me until you used the outhouse.
We did use an outhouse, and it was a real outhouse, and that was our option.
Oh,
that was our option, our only option.
And so there was no electricity or
no electricity. So we could only work until sundown. Ah. Yes, that's right.
Oh, that is something else. And you stayed there the whole 3 days?
I drove back. Since it was just Woodbury, I drove back home every day. But yeah, it was just 3 days straight.
I guess you were glad to flip some lights on when you got there too.
And take a bath, yeah.
Yes, we get pretty complacent and pretty lazy in our lifestyles.
We do, but it really felt as though we were back in the 1800s. It was a true, authentic log cabin.
Oh,
it was beautiful. It was just beautiful.
So let's find out a little bit about this. That's a really fun story. That's something else.
Well, now when I got there, they had the spoons already cut out for us, and I'm assuming that they have to use some electricity to cut these spoons out because they were all cut the exact same way. And I use a little saw at home, a little electric saw, and I just kind of push it through to cut out the design. And then I do everything else by hand. So this is a design that I drew on a piece of poplar wood right here, and then I use my electric saw to just cut straight on either side. So when it comes out, it's like this. It's just a square block.
So do you use like a skill saw?
Yes.
Something? Okay.
Yes. And then from that point on, it's all done by hand. And it's a lot of work, a lot of hard work.
So when you got up there to your class, was it in this form or it was more like this?
It was like this.
Okay.
So we went from this point on, and everything that they had cut out was very straight, so I know they had to have used an electric.
Yeah. Were you intimidated when you saw that piece of wood laying there and thought this is never going to be a spoon?
No. I wasn't. I wasn't.
That's fine.
They wouldn't be offering that class if they didn't know we couldn't, come up with something really functional and nice.
Yeah. So how long have you done this?
Oh, I probably took all these classes about the same time. It was just, I was much at a younger age and just gung-ho and had the time, and so it's probably been about 8 or 10 years, I guess.
Let's show some of your wares here. This is a dipper?
This is cherry. It's a dipper. You can use this to just scoop out soup, beans, just to stir. For a long handle, you've got a good long handle. Season these with vegetable oil and sand them down really good and then season them so they are functional. You can use every one of these. This is made out of poplar, but it turned. The color came out really different on that. I don't know why.
That's beautiful.
I have made the poplar out of this wood, and it came out this color after I seasoned it, and it's just beautiful. So I don't know what I did on that one to mess that up.
That's gorgeous. You didn't mess it up.
It's not messed up, but
it'd be hard to reproduce it.
I was a little disappointed in the color.
I love the color.
That's how I should say. I mean, the color's fine, but I thought it was
I guess you expected that, though.
I did.
That is really something else. Now, this one, you had a funny story with this one.
I did. I carved a little bit too hard on this one, and when I was digging, and I dug a hole in it. And so I thought, well, I can't do anything with a tiny little hole, so I scooped out a great big hole, and I use it for whipping when I'm whipping cakes together or stirring things up, and that I just need to stir lightly. This has really come in handy for that.
So what you call this is a happy accident.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Seems like you'd have a lot of call for these, too.
Seriously,
well,
yes,
it seems like
that's
people would
right.
want them.
That one's made out of walnut.
Do you find that some of the woods are more durable, or?
The walnut seems to be the easiest.
The easiest. Is it a soft wood?
Yeah, I think it's a much softer wood, and I like working with the cherry real well too. And I've had no problems with the poplar.
Cherry is probably hard to find, isn't it?
I've actually had quite a few people give me pieces of cherry.
Oh,
This is a cherry piece right here. And the rule is at my house, if a man brings me a piece of wood that I can use to make spoons, his wife will get the first spoon.
Oh, nice.
And I have stuck to that. That's my rule.
That's a very good
So if they give
rule.
me the wood, their wife's going to get a spoon.
Well, that's nice. So that also encourages a lot of men to bring in wood.
Yeah, so I don't have to go out and buy anything.
Your wife's behind them wanting the wood there.
And that's actually the spoon I made at the class. That is one of the spoons.
Wow.
That was my very first.
Now, how did you drill the holes in there for the, is this something you did later?
Yes, I did that one afterwards. We didn't have anything to drill a hole with it afterwards, and I wanted to be able to hang it on the wall for display, so
And what kind of wood is this one? The
That is
poplar?
walnut.
Walnut.
That is walnut.
All right. Now, this is a very unique piece. I love that.
This is an awesome piece right here. I've probably made more of these than anything. Everybody really seems to like these because it has the scoop on the side, so you can dip or you can scoop. And it has this little indention right here, so that you can turn it around, grab the rack in the oven, and pull the oven out. Stir your food, and then use the groove in the very end of it to push the rack back in the oven so that you don't burn yourself. So I've had a lot of calls for this.
Oh, I'd say so.
And
I
that's
would say so.
cherry.
And it's funny you said you carved it just a little bit thin right there. I think
Yeah.
it gives it a lot of character.
I sure did. So some of the soup's going to escape on that
Oh,
one.
not much though.
Not much.
I love this. That's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And what type of wood is this?
That's cherry.
Cherry.
That is cherry.
All right.
Yes,
And
another
then what
walnut.
are these?
Those are walnut. And I love this one. Just this
Oh,
came
yeah, it's
out
got
of a
the
house
natural.
fire. This was out of a house fire, and the guy brought me several pieces of walnut. And he said, I don't know if there's anything you can do with this. And I said, well, I'm going to just try just to see. And I just think that adds to it.
Oh, yes.
The character of the spoon. I just love it. So I kept this one.
You couldn't buy anything like this. You couldn't.
Well,
The stuff that we buy now,
yeah.
there's really probably not much wood involved in a
That's
wooden
true.
spoon.
That's probably true. These are handmade, and it is just from wood from Warren County. And I like preserving things. And so anytime somebody has a house, a friend of ours from church was building a house and a cabin actually, and was putting the poplar down as the flooring. So he gave me a piece of that, and I made his wife a spoon to go with it, just to kind of
Customary
preserve it.
first spoon.
Yes, customary first spoon. And I just like preserving things.
Yes,
So-
that's too what this show is all about.
Yes,
Preserving
absolutely,
things.
absolutely.
We love that.
And I don't know anyone else that carves spoons by hand. And there may be people in Warren County, but I don't know of them.
When you told me about it, I was floored. I was
Yeah.
like, carving wooden spoons.
Yes.
Wow, something else. All right, so when you decide that I need some spoons or somebody wants some spoons, what is your first step? Obviously, to gather the wood.
Find what do they want? Do they want cherry? Do they want poplar? Do they want walnut? What kind of wood do they want? And I check my stock and see what I've got.
Now, let me
And-
ask you, have you cut any of your own wood for this?
No.
Okay,
No, I have
when we
not.
had the basket weaving, when we had you on that show, you had actually gone out and cut a white oak tree.
Yes, I did.
We've
I
had a lot of
did.
people mention that.
I've
That's
actually
funny.
been so fortunate and had so many people give me pieces of wood I've not had to do that.
All right, so hopefully it won't come down to where you have to go chop your own tree again.
Well, if I do, I know how to do it.
There you go. All right, so this is where you start.
I draw my pattern.
Do you have a set pattern, or you just kind of come up with one in your head?
They taught us to use this right here. It's called a Circle Master inking template, and you can get the size of the spoon, the actual cup size that you want, by laying this down on your wood and drawing your circles, and then using a ruler to get your lines straight. Or you can, I have in the past, just like this one, I'll lay it down like this and just kind of draw a pattern from that. So I've kind of done it both ways. And after I get my pattern, then I'll go to my saw, my electric saw, and I cut out the big chunk with the design on it. You know, it'll be
just
like
in the
this.
straight, okay.
Just in the straight. Then comes the hard part. I clamp it down in a vice grip, okay? And I wear gloves because, as you can see, I was carving on one this morning and I cut myself right down to the bone because the tools are very sharp. So I use leather gloves, and usually whatever hand I'm cupping with, I'll keep the glove on that hand because I'm digging like this. The tools that I use, the first thing is you do the handle, and you use this, which is called a spoke shave. And what this is, back in the 1800s, they would get the wood and it would be in a square shape, and they'd have to shave down the edges to make the wheels for the spokes. So that is where this originated from, and the blade is right in here, and you just pull it or you push it. You have to go with the grain of the wood. You don't want to go against it because it'll jump. So I don't know if you can hold that end down a little bit. But
do I need to be scared?
No.
Okay.
You just push it like this, only I use both hands, and as you can see, that's pulling it up right there. And that takes the edges off, okay? But it really digs if you've got it in a vice grate.
and
You
that's
can
just
really
smooth.
go to town on it. And you can make it the shape that you want. You just dig deeper if you want a little groove. Then,
And this is your groove that
I've been trying to make a shape. I'm not happy with this, so I keep going back and redoing this. Right.
I like it. See, it's perfect for the hand.
I think it is too. It feels good when you grip it. And you form and you shape the handle. You do completely finish the handle the way you want it by using this. And you can also use this right here, which is called a sure form, but I just call it a cheese grater.
That's why I started saying it looks just like a cheese grater.
That's what it is. And you can scrape it like this. I use it mostly around the edge, down at the end of the handle like this, or any major bumps. And as you can see, it just scrapes it off.
Does that give it a different texture, or it just smooths it off?
No, it just smooths it off a little bit better.
Yeah.
See, I just smoothed that whole area down.
Wow.
And if this were in a vice grip, you know, you could really see, because I could really exert some pressure on this, and then you'd be able to see a huge difference. But I've smoothed this whole section out by using this. And, you know, anytime you're doing a craft, you have to be aware of the hazards, you know, how you might get cut or hurt. I wear the gloves because of the sharp blades, and I wear the protective glasses. I did one time have a piece of fiber, just a tiny piece of fiber from the wood, get in my eye, and I ended up at the emergency room at like 10 o'clock at night because I was
very
carving.
important to wear your safety goggles. Always safety.
Always, yeah. So anytime I'm working with this, there's so many little fibers popping up in the air. And then you sand. You will take, there's different grades of sandpaper. You start out with a rough kind, and you just sand it until you get it as smooth as you want with this really coarse grade. Then you moved to the down.
Because that is rough.
Yes, it is. And there are hours of sanding when you're doing this.
Wow.
Then you take the next grade and you sand it again. And you sand. And you sand. And see how it's bringing out some of the color?
Oh, yeah, and it's getting smoother.
Yes, and then you get the very finest. And you sand more. And then you can always look back and you think, okay, that's it. And then you'll see a little spot and you think, okay, I need to sand a little bit more. Because you want it to be very smooth and you want the handle to be completely finished. So that because you're not going to go back and work on the handle.
Right.
Then after that, you're going to put this head in the vice grip. I really like having mine down on the table because I have something to really push down on. I'm going to let you hold it this way. Well, actually, we flip it over and we will shape the bottom part of the cup of the spoon by using the spoke shave. And then this device, the cheese grater, comes in handy again because you can really
get those edges off. Wow. Oh,
just like
nice.
that. Yeah.
All
and
right,
really
now,
round this out.
I noticed that this is a pretty thick piece of poplar. Do you need to start with this as a standard rule, does your wood need to be a certain thickness?
Depends on how deep you want your spoon. They do make some that are very, very deep, you know, for scooping out chili or whatever. It just depends on how deep you want your spoon.
Okay, so that's what determines.
Yeah, and then of course when you start, after you have shaped the bottom part of your spoon and got it exactly the way you want it, you flip it
Goodness,
over.
that's a lot.
This cup is going to be the last part that you work on. And I use FlexiCut carving tools. These blades are extremely sharp, and they come in different, I don't know if you call it grades or what, but the edges of them have a certain curvature to it, depending on how deep you want to cut. This one is flat, and I do use all of them, and they are extremely sharp. And you just push down.
Oh my!
And you dig out the hole, and you dig out the entire hole by doing this. So this takes a while, and my arm will get tired, and I'll put it down, and I'll come back the next day or a couple hours later, and you just keep digging.
It's time consuming also to make a spoon.
It is very time consuming. It's very time consuming. This part, mostly.
I can imagine though the reward is incredible.
Well, it's just beautiful. I mean, to me, it's just beautiful. I made 2 cherry spoons for my brother, and they had 16-inch long handles. And then I said, you can use that, but he's got it hanging on his wall. And he said, no, it's too pretty. So, and give them away as Christmas gifts. And it doesn't cost much. You know, you can just get the wood. It doesn't cost much.
Wood scraps.
And I think people really enjoy handmade gifts. I think more and more people are really enjoying that.
It is. It finally seems to be that we're making kind of a circle.
I think so.
Everybody's tired of the
just
disposable stuff that you buy at the stores.
And this has more meaning to it because somebody you know took the time to really, you know, to make this. So that to me makes it that much more special.
Yes. Yeah, because they had you in mind when they were doing it.
And at Christmas time, I have a lot of people call. They'll ask for spoons or a basket or whatever. So I have to kind of start thinking ahead of time, you know, okay, what's everybody going to want this year? So to kind of get my my supply built up.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And then I use just different files. These were files that my father had, and I can file down the back by doing this.
And what does that do? What is the purpose of the file?
It just dips it. Like this right here I used to file.
Okay.
I sat and just went back and forth forever till I got that the way I wanted it.
This is such a unique design.
Thank you. It is.
Smart.
It's a beautiful design too. And so that's basically how you carve a spoon, but if we had a vice grip here, I'd really be able to dig in and show you exactly how to do it. Another part is maintenance of your tools. You have to make sure that they stay sharp. And I clean mine, and when I wrap them up for the day, each one is wrapped up individually, and you never just lay them blade down because that can damage the blade.
All right. Well, after you get done filing, what do you do then?
After
is filing the last?
After I dig this out and I've got it the depth that I want, I start my sanding process over again.
More sanding.
Because you cannot put this, after you've dug this out, you can't put this back in the vise because it will break it.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you exert too much pressure, which I have done. So you really want to make sure you've got it how you want it when you finish, and then you just start the sanding process all over again using the different grades of sandpaper.
Did you cry when you broke one the first time?
Yes.
I thought you did.
I was very, because there's not much you can do with it once it's broken in two. I mean, it cracked right in two, and I had put hours and hours into it.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yes.
I'll bet that was just horrible.
Yes.
All right, so then you sand it, or you do the sanding again.
Yes, I do the sanding, and the sanding just really takes a long time. I mean, it's hours of sanding. So I'll put on a show out in the garage or something on the TV, and I'll watch it while I sand, and it wears on your arm after a while. So this arm's really, really strong. Right
Building up
here.
the muscles. That's your exercise for the day also,
Yes,
right?
and then when I'm finished with that, I season it with just regular vegetable oil. I will soak it really, really good and lay it out on a towel for the evening, and it may take a couple of days for that to really soak in and dry.
So do you actually soak it like in a bowl?
No,
You
I just pour some in the cup, and I rub it around, and then I rub it all down the handles really, really good.
Just plain vegetable oil?
Yes, just vegetable oil, and that way you can use it, and after you've used it a while, if you feel feel it getting a little rough, you can take some sandpaper, sand it back down a little bit, put some vegetable on it, and you're good to go again.
So you can sand it a little more if it gets a little rough.
Oh yes,
Wow.
most definitely.
I imagine it takes a pretty good while though for it to need refurbishing.
This one right here has been put, I do not recommend putting these in the dishwasher. This one has been put in the dishwasher, and that's kind of messed it up a little bit. So this one needs to be sanded. It's kind of dull looking, so I do need to re-sand this one again, and it'll bring that shine back out a little bit and re-oil it.
If you re-sand it a little bit, will that change the color of it? Or will the color be inside?
A little bit. I've never re-sanded one,
Well,
to be
there you
quite
go.
honest with you. I use it so much that I hadn't really thought about that.
I'm sure they last a lifetime.
Well, yeah, they do. I mean, unless you just break it on something, I can't imagine. I guess you could break it if you got mad and maybe like that.
Or pop somebody with it.
Exactly.
Hey, I may need some of these.
Exactly. So I've got my stash of wooden spoons that I use, and I do cook with these every day.
Wow.
I cook with these every day.
Now, when you have company, do you find that when they leave, you're down a spoon or two? Sometimes,
No, I've had
maybe?
a lot of people look at them and they go, "Oh, this is really, really nice. I like this." But no, never had that happen
No,
before.
that's good. That's
No.
good. Now, what are the other tools that you have here? You've got several that you've not touched on.
This is a scorp right here, and this is used, sometimes you just have spots down in here that you just cannot get out with these.
Okay.
And this right here is much, much thicker, much thicker blade. And so you can really do some damage by getting down in there, but of course, again, it has to be in a vice grip.
Right.
And you can even just do, go back and forth like that, and it'll smooth out a corner that you just couldn't get to earlier.
So it's best to use these tools to actually shape it
Yes.
the way you want it, and then that kind of smooths out the
Yes,
corners.
this one you
Okay.
use towards the very, very end, and then this one will fine tune it even more. You just scrape. It's just a spoon type of tool, and as you can see, that little groove right there, I'm just smoothing that out
Wow.
just by using this right here.
Now, when you went to take your class, did you say, well, I need all these things, I need to buy them all, or did you just kind of accumulate them?
They had
As you need
everything we needed there.
Uh-huh.
Now, at my home, the only thing that I had to purchase were these little tools right here, the Flexi Cut. And I guess this ran about $100. Everything else I had at my house. My husband had the table with the vice grip on it. We already had the little, I forgot what you call this, that you
It's like a
sharpen your metal
pumice?
on. And I guess I bought these two. This and this altogether was $100. I had everything else.
Wow.
So just stuff that we had.
Stuff you had laying around your home. Isn't that
so
something?
it, other than that initial cost, it's really, not an expensive hobby to do, and anyone can do it. I have taught a couple of gentlemen how to do it in my garage, and they loved it.
Ah, that's something else.
I don't know that they've made any since then, but they
they
made
know
one
how.
spoon. Yes, they do know how.
And I guess their wives got that spoon probably.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping. And then I just
something
always
else.
try to keep my work area clean. And my daddy had this brush, so I got this brush from him. And I just always try to keep my work area very clean and tidy.
That's
so,
really neat.
Yes.
All right. So with this, then, you keep your tools sharpened. You mentioned earlier how important it
Yes.
was to keep them sharpened. Have you had any trouble by not having your tools sharpened? I imagine
It
you
gets
wouldn't
dull.
get a.
They get dull, and then you can, jam it into the wood, or
and rip your
worse,
wood.
come into your hand.
Ooh.
So it's just best to keep your instruments very sharp, clean, and every time before I start carving a spoon, I will check the sharpness of my instruments and clean them up a little bit, just to make sure.
Make sure they're good and sharp.
Yes.
Now, how long would a spoon, let's say, how long would a spoon like this take you?
I could do that in a day, but it would be an all-day process again.
Starting with the piece of wood.
Starting with the piece of wood, I could carve that down in a day. It's really good at the end of the work day if you have a lot of aggression built up in you to come home and just really get into this and work all that negative energy out. And I've made quite a few in a day just so I could have gifts for people.
Wow.
It's getting harder and harder to do for me, though. It's kind of rough on my arm.
I'd say probably
But
so.
it's a wonderful, wonderful gift to give to people.
I'd say they would love them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really enjoy this.
Is this
very
the
much.
oil for your tools?
This is the oil that I put on here when
okay.
I'm cleaning my tools. I know the men out there and probably some women will know more technical names. I just know how to use them, so I know what they're
There you
for and
go.
how
That's
to use
what
them.
counts right there,
That's what
isn't it?
counts. That's right.
So what all woods have you used before? We've got the poplar, and then you said this is cherry.
Cherry and walnut, and I believe That's about it. I certainly wouldn't even attempt an oak. That would probably be too hard. I don't think I could do that. But
Oak is a harder wood?
Yes, it's a much harder wood. But this is the wood that people have brought me. So, you know, whatever they bring to me, that's what I use if it's possible. I love the cherry and the poplar the most. I think those come out the prettiest. And you never know what the grain is going to look like until when you put that oil on it, it just brings it out.
Wow.
And it just looks beautiful.
So that's probably where you get a lot of the color too, isn't it?
Yes.
After you put the oil on it?
That cherry color will really come out. Or the designs. I don't know if any of these have a natural. This one, you can see the natural design in that, the way the wood was growing.
That's just something else. I am just amazed by this.
It just turns out beautiful. And see the back, the design. I mean, you just don't know how it's going to come out until you start carving it and you put the oil on it, and then you see the beauty of the wood come out. I did do one that had a knot in it, and I didn't realize that knot was that far down into the wood. So once I got there, I thought, oh, we're in trouble now, because I've put all this work into it, and now I'm at a knot, and knots are really, really hard to work around. But I kept working on it, shaving it down, and it turned out to probably be the most pretty. The prettiest
The most
thing.
beautifulest one?
Yes, the most beautifulest one of all. That's right. It's very therapeutic. I really enjoy this. I can go out in the garage and just, you know, be in my own world. You know, I just like having my downtime, my quiet time.
Have you ever taken any of your work back to your teachers? There's a good idea. You may have to make a road trip.
Oh, no, I have not.
That's a good idea.
But I'm sure they would love to see this.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a trip up the mountain someday.
Hey, absolutely. They would love it.
I'd say they
love
would.
it.
It's
a wonderful place. I don't know if they're still offering classes up there. I saw this ad in a paper, so I don't know. I've not seen any since, so I don't know if they're
Y'all might have broke them since they knew that everybody
It was all women, and it was a day for them. Let me tell you, it was a day for them.
Well, thank you so very much for bringing your beautiful craft on and showing it to us.
Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks very much to our very special guest, Mitzi Pierce. I'm Kimberly Vance, and I hope you've been inspired to create your own handmade Tennessee. If you enjoyed today's show, check us out on Facebook for other shows and information at www.facebook.com/HandmadeTennessee. You can also email us your comments or suggestions to handmadetn@bltv.net.
At socialsecurity.gov, you can apply for retirement, disability, or Medicare from your own home.
Chekhov applied in his pajamas.